All right, we are on the U35 here, and we are going to sit in the cockpit without the engine on and talk about what things do. And we're going to go from left to right. So if we come over to left, here's your first joystick on the left. We're going to skip that just for a second and go to this one. So whenever you start, this has to be up. Whenever this is up, nothing will move. Your boom, your blade, nothing will move. Everything is in lock position. So this is a safety mechanism. So every time you get out, you want to lift this up, and you have to start it with this up. Now, to gauge all of the joysticks, you basically put that down. Once that's engaged and started, everything becomes active. So now we'll come back to this joystick. What does this joystick do? This joystick right here on your left-hand side, it has no trigger on it. It's basically just forward, back, right, and left. And what this does, if I push forward, it's going to make the boom go out. Not up or down, but out. If I pull back towards me, it's going to make the boom come in. If I move to the right and left, that's going to swing the cab. So if I move to the left, the whole cab is going to swing. So the boom will go with me, but the boom's actually not moving. It's got its own controls, which we'll get to in a minute. So the boom can move left and right. But this over here, if I go left and right with this control, it basically moves the whole cab. So if I move left, my whole cab's going to move this way with the boom. If I move right, my whole cab's going to move that way with the boom as well. So let's move on to these front handles. So these front handles are your tracks. So you've got a left track and a right track. So you can move them forward or back with tracks. So it's like a zero turn, you use them. Now you can also use the foot pedals. So the foot pedals do the same thing. So I find the foot pedals to be nice because I can go forward with right, left, or back with right, left, or back with both. So you want to play around with it, especially when it's muddy, to get the traction you want. And one thing that you may have seen is if you get stuck, you can basically pull yourself out with the bucket. So that's another good thing to keep in mind. A nice tip is you can get yourself out of some situations. Now, we talked about the boom moving right and left. You can see here, this is the boom swing. So basically, if I don't want my cab to move, but if I want that whole boom to move right, left, I can move right, left with these foot buttons over here. So you see, right, left. So that would cause the boom to swing and the cab to stay positioned just like I have it now. Now, we're not going to talk about the auxiliary. We showed you how earlier or later. You can stay tuned. Actually, I'm not going to walk through the computer settings because unless you have advanced things like a thumb, which we have, but it's not quite working, hydraulics beyond the main bucket, this is where you enable them. So you enable your, so we can enable our hydraulic hammer here, which we had earlier to bust up the concrete. And I would just refer to instructions to do that. We're not going to walk through the computer mechanism. But without the extra hydraulics or extra attachments for the flow control, the bucket and the blade in front will work without doing anything with the computer, I believe. So we didn't have to do anything with the computer to get the bucket and the blade and everything else to function as we hoped. Now we've got two controls to the right here. So this control, it has a button on top, it has a horn. This is just a horn right here, this switch on the back. These right here are for working additional enablements, additional flow control. So this will actually give you your hammer if you've got your hydraulic breaker. So this will give you your hammer. You basically put that, you basically raise the boom or drop the boom. So basically I can raise the boom by doing this, and that's going to lift the boom up. Push down, it's going to bring the boom and the bucket down towards the ground. If I've got a breaker on there, it's going to bring that down to the concrete, and then once I get on the concrete, I use this button to break up the concrete. Left curls the bucket, and right opens the bucket. So this handle right here, is going to go bucket down, bucket up, curl bucket to close it, open bucket. Nope, open curl bucket to close it, open bucket. That's how you operate this, and then this is for additional hydraulics. Now this one over here raises, this one to your far right raises and lowers the blade, the front blade, and it also articulates the blade left and right. If you push it all the way down into position forward, it's going to float. And then back here, the last controls back here at the back are your throttle and your start. Now we didn't use these buttons back here at all to see what those are, so you'd have to refer to the operating manual. Obviously you got emergency stop here as well. And that's all of the controls that we used on this U35. Taking a break.